Imagine sitting on the crinkly paper of an exam table. You know that sound.
Oh, yeah. Everyone knows that sound. It's awful.
It really is. You're shivering in this flimsy paper gown. The smell of rubbing alcohol is just like hovering in the air. And your doctor walks in, and they're holding a manila folder that contains essentially two absolute death sentences.
Pure tragedy.
Right, pure tragedy, the exact kind of moment that shatters the life into a million unrecognizable pieces.
Yeah.
But, and this is why we're here today, what if I told you that in exactly 132 words, an author turned that exact nightmare into a flawlessly engineered, unforgettable joke?
It's pretty wild to even think about.
It is. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are
Yeah.
thrilled you are here with us because our mission today is, well, it's a bit different than our usual explorations.
Definitely a gear shift for us.
For sure. We aren't analyzing some massive 1,000-page textbook today or, a dense, groundbreaking white paper.
No, today we have exactly one source, and it is an exercise in extreme microscopic brevity.
Right. We are looking at a tiny piece of darkly humorous short fiction. It's titled Excerpts from the Merciful Amnesia of a Double Diagnosis.
And when we say short, we mean it. It is a lean, mean 132 words.
That's it. That's the whole thing.
But our goal for you today isn't just to tell you a morbid joke, right? We want to look at the underlying mechanics of this text.
Yeah, the actual architecture of it.
Exactly. We want to explore how those 132 words act as a perfectly constructed trap. It balances like devastating tragedy, rapid-fire pacing, and precise comedic timing.
All to deliver a punchline that honestly it stays with you long after you hear it.
It really does.
We are going to treat this text like an intricate piece of engineering because, to make an audience laugh at something this universally terrifying.
You can't just wing it.
Right. The author can't just stumble into the punchline. They have to build a highly specific machine, lever by lever.
Okay. To truly appreciate how this machine functions, we can't just summarize it for you. We need to perform the text. We have to hear it in real time.
Yeah. So I'm going to read this short story aloud.
Yeah.
In its entirety, right now.
Let's do it.
And as I read it, I want you, listening at home or, on your commute, to just pay attention to how the tension is built, how the information is delivered.
And how that release is finally triggered.
Exactly. Here we go.
Right.
A man goes to the doctor for a checkup. After a thorough exam, lab, and x-rays, the doctor comes into the room and says, "I've got some bad news for you. You have two very serious problems we need to discuss."
Oof. The worst opening ever.
Right. He continues. The man says, "Give it to me straight, doc. Tell me the worst news first." The doctor replies, "Well, we found that you have terminal cancer. There's nothing we can do about it, and you will probably die within the next 3 months."
Brutal.
The man then says, "Thanks for being honest, doc. What else did you find?" The doctor says, "We also found that you have Alzheimer's disease. We can treat it to some degree, but your memory is going to get progressively worse."
And here it comes.
The man then said, "Well, it could be worse. At least I don't have cancer."
Wow. Every time I hear it.
Okay, let's unpack this. On the surface, it's just a quick, morbid chuckle.
A dark joke.
But structurally, the joke begins in the most grounded, realistic, universally treaded place possible.
It has to. Comedy of this nature requires a rock-solid foundation of reality.
Because if the setup is absurd,
Then the absurd punchline has absolutely no impact.
right, it just floats away.
Exactly. Look at those opening sentences. A man goes to the doctor for a checkup after a thorough exam, lab, and x-rays. The author deliberately uses the most dry procedural language available.
It's just clinical objectivity.
Yes, it places the reader right there in the room, establishing a baseline of mundane medical routine.
It's universal shorthand for vulnerability. Nobody feels powerful when they're waiting for lab results.
Nobody. You're in a paper gown.
Right. You are entirely at the mercy of whatever data is printed on that sheet of paper the doctor is holding.
And that procedural dryness creates a false sense of security. It establishes a recognizable rhythm of life right before the doctor completely derails it by announcing two very serious problems.
Which is it's a terrifying phrase.
It is. But what's fascinating here is how the author uses the patient's immediate reaction to that derailment.
The give it to me straight part.
Yeah. The patient says, "Give it to me straight, doc. Tell me the worst news first."
Okay, wait. I have to pause and push back on that logic right there.
The patient's logic.
Yeah, the patient's logic. Is there actually any real advantage to getting the worst news first?
People say it all the time.
They say it, but why? To me, it's like asking to be hit by a speeding cement truck just so you won't feel the sting of a paper cut right afterward.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. The paper cut doesn't matter anymore because you've just been flattened into the pavement. Why do we do that? Why do we demand the bad news first?
Well, because it is a desperate attempt to maintain the illusion of control.
In a completely helpless environment.
Exactly. The patient is sitting there, and his fate is already sealed in the folder the doctor is holding.
He can't change it.
He cannot change the biological reality of whatever is happening inside his body. The only tiny microscopic sliver of agency he has left is dictating the sequence in which he receives his doom.
Wow. He's trying to manage the meeting because he can't manage the disease.
That is exactly it. He believes he is bracing himself. Psychologically, humans want to process the largest threat first so we can allocate our emotional resources accordingly.
Like, get the big one out of the way.
Right. If you tell me the small problem first, I'm going to be too distracted anticipating the big problem to even listen to you.
So you just tune it out.
Yeah. By demanding the worst news first, the patient is actively participating in his own devastation. He thinks he's taking charge of the narrative.
Which perfectly sets up the ultimate irony of the punchline.
Oh, absolutely.
He demands control over the flow of information, but the disease he's about to be diagnosed with literally strips away his ability to retain any information at all.
He is trying to build a dam, and the water has already evaporated.
That's a haunting image.
Mm.
But it's true. The loss of control is the central nervous system of this entire story.
And that transitions us perfectly into the specific architectural nature of the two diagnoses the doctor delivers.
This is where we shift from a recognizable scenario into a highly structured narrative trap.
Let's examine the jaws of that trap. Because the author didn't just, throw a dart at a medical dictionary and randomly select two ailments.
No, cancer and Alzheimer's. They represent two fundamentally different timelines.
And two fundamentally different types of human destruction.
If we look at the exact phrasing the doctor uses, the contrast is stark. It's deeply calculated. Let's start with diagnosis 1.
The cancer.
Right. The doctor says, "We found that you have terminal cancer. There is nothing we can do about it, and you will probably die within the next 3 months."
It is brutal.
It's absolute finality. There is a definite, hard timeline, 3 months, and a complete absence of hope.
Yeah.
The phrase, "nothing we can do about it," just shuts the door entirely.
It is the ultimate period at the end of a sentence. It establishes the maximum possible weight of bad news.
You can't get worse than "nothing we can do."
You really can't. But then, look at the delivery of diagnosis 2. We also found that you have Alzheimer's disease. We can treat it to some degree, but your memory is going to get progressively worse.
We can treat it to some degree.
Yes.
That phrase feels like the linchpin of the whole joke.
It acts as the false bottom of the trap. Think about this in terms of sleight of hand magic.
Okay, like misdirection.
Exactly. The cancer diagnosis is the loud noise, the flash of fire that forces you to look at the magician's right hand. It carries infinite finite gravity.
Well, the left hand is doing the real trick.
Right. In contrast, the Alzheimer's is the coin disappearing in the left hand. It is presented with this tiny, almost cruel sliver of medical optimism.
We can treat it.
We can treat it, even though the doctor immediately follows it up with the grim reality of progressive cognitive decline. That initial softening manipulates the reader.
It tricks us. It momentarily tricks our brains into agreeing with the patient's underlying assumption that the Alzheimer's is the less bad news.
Because it's a progressive decline, not a hard stop.
Yeah, it's a disease of fading away, a gradual twilight, whereas the cancer is presented as a hard, fast, inescapable deadline.
The sequence and the phrasing create a false hierarchy of bad news in the listener's mind.
That's so true.
The doctor establishes a heavy weight and then a slightly lighter weight, allowing both the patient and the reader to mentally categorize them.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Let's talk about the doctor's role in this.
Oh, the doctor is fascinating.
His bedside manner is wild. He is brutally, almost unethically blunt about the cancer. You're going to die in 3 months, nothing to be done.
Very blunt.
But then he actively softens the blow on the Alzheimer's. So my question is the doctor inadvertently setting the patient up for the punchline here?
Like, intentionally.
Well, like, is he the straight man in a comedy duo? Or is he just a genuinely terrible communicator who doesn't know how to deliver a double blow?
That's a great question. In the reality of the narrative, he is likely just a doctor delivering a mathematically impossible amount of bad news.
Just sweating through his white coat.
Right, he's grasping at whatever minor medical optimism he can legally find, which happens to be the Alzheimer's treatment.
Hey, at least we can treat this one thing.
Exactly. But in the mechanics of the joke, the doctor is absolutely playing the role of the structural setup man.
He has to.
His delivery is the precise trigger for the trap. If the doctor had merged the information,
What do you mean?
like if he had said, your brain is going to rapidly deteriorate until you lose all sense of self, and you only have 3 months to live because of terminal cancer,
Oh, yeah.
the joke completely falls apart. The human brain cannot process that as a setup.
Because it's just a wall of doom. There are no steps.
Exactly. The separation is required. The architecture of the dialogue requires the doctor to lay the two diagnoses on the table as separate, distinct objects.
So the patient can react to them sequentially.
Yes. The careful weighting of that double blow is what brings us to the climax of the story.
The immediate manifestation of the disease itself.
Which brings us to the punchline, the final line of the story.
The man hears that his memory is going to get progressively worse, and his immediate, unhesitating response is, well, could be worse. At least I don't have cancer.
The speed of that reversal is just breathtaking.
It's cartoonishly fast. It happens in a microsecond.
But we accept it?
We do. We accept it because the buildup, the crinkly paper, the lab results, the dry delivery, was so grounded in reality.
The author earned the absurd speed of the punchline by taking their time with the setup.
They really did. But let's tie this back to the title of the piece for a moment. The merciful amnesia of a double diagnosis.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the title is a profound paradox.
He really is.
It serves as the decoder ring for how we are supposed to interpret this deeply morbid punchline.
Because calling it merciful feels almost offensive at first glance.
It sounds wrong.
I have to be honest. The guy is sitting there. His body is actively shutting down. He has 3 months to live. He is a dead man walking.
Yeah, his fate is sealed.
So how on earth are we looking at this situation and using the word mercy?
Because we are dealing with the concept of cognitive overload.
Okay, unpack that.
When the human brain receives an overwhelming, unsurvivable amount of trauma, it searches for an escape hatch.
A way out.
Right. The punchline works, structurally and emotionally, because the Alzheimer's takes effect instantaneously within the reality of the joke.
Right then and there.
Yes. By forgetting the cancer diagnosis the very second after he receives the Alzheimer's diagnosis, the trauma of the cancer is entirely erased from his consciousness.
Why?
The mercy in the title is not physical. It is entirely narrative and psychological.
So it's a cognitive mercy.
Exactly.
The physical reality, the fact that his timeline is aggressively finite, remains completely unchanged. But his awareness of that reality has been deleted.
Exactly. The story literalizes a psychological defense mechanism. The patient is genuinely relieved at the end of the text.
He's actually happy.
He is. He feels like he has dodged a bullet, even though the bullet is already lodged in his chest.
That is so dark.
It is, but he has completely escaped the anticipation of death, which philosophers and psychologists have argued for centuries is often vastly more agonizing than death itself.
It is such a bizarre, twisted victory condition. Is this even a happy ending?
In his mind, it is.
But it makes you think about how we process trauma, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This story uses the structure of a joke to bypass our natural biological defenses against thinking about our own mortality.
Yes. If this 132-word story were written as a straightforward, serious drama, it would be unbearably bleak.
Nobody would want to read it.
No, it would just be a story about a man receiving the worst news in the world.
But by framing it as a punchline, the author allows us to laugh at the one thing we absolutely cannot control, our own inevitable physical and mental decline.
Humor, especially dark humor, isn't about making light of a tragedy. It is about making the tragedy bearable.
It is an engineered bypass.
Beautifully put. We use the mechanics of a joke to look directly at our deepest fears without being paralyzed by them.
So to pull all of this together and distill what we've unpacked today,
Let's do it.
we took this tiny microscopic story and we tore it down to its studs. We saw how it perfectly structures anxiety in that clinical exam room.
The crinkly paper, the weight.
Yeah, we looked at how it plays with the illusion of human agency, the desperate, illogical need to control how we receive our bad news.
The whole give it to me straight fallacy.
Exactly. We explored the sleight of hand required to balance two devastating diseases against each other. And we saw how it uses tragic irony to deliver a punchline that manages to be simultaneously hilarious and profoundly, deeply sad.
It highlights that a joke is a delicate, rigorous ecosystem.
It really is an ecosystem.
If you change one word, or if you alter the timing of one reveal by a single beat, the entire structure collapses into just being depressing.
The magic trick fails.
It fails completely. It requires absolute precision to work.
And it serves as a great reminder for you, the listener, as you go about your day and consume media, or just listen to the jokes people tell in the break room.
There's mechanics behind all of it.
Always. The mechanics of humor are often just as complex, just as engineered as the heaviest academic theories or technological breakthroughs we usually dive into on this show.
Sometimes even more so.
Right. Sometimes the shortest stories require the most microscopic architecture to actually function. They have to balance the heaviest human emotions on the head of a pin.
It is a testament to human resilience that we can take the concept of terminal illness and cognitive decline and build a machine out of words that forces us to smile at it.
Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with today.
Oh, here we go.
We talked earlier about the human desire for control, the need to dictate the terms of our own bad news. So I want to pose a question built directly out of the ashes of this 132-word joke. Imagine for a second that you are the one sitting in that sterile clinical exam room.
Shivering in the gown.
Shivering in the gown. Sitting on that crinkly paper. If you were given the ultimate impossible choice between the two realities presented in this story,
Okay.
would you choose to carry the heavy, terrifying burden of a terrible truth, wide awake and acutely aware of your fading timeline? Or would you choose to live your final days in a blissful, forgetful illusion, knowing that the physical outcome, the absolute end of the line, is exactly the same either way? Which reality would you actually choose?